Hello geometry students, we are kicking off a new chapter. Today we're going to learn all about different kinds of lines. The first kind of line is called parallel. Now I'm guessing you've heard of parallel lines before. When we think about our picture, we often have one line and another line. We could call this perhaps L and K. Now when we have parallel lines, it's sort of like train tracks. Sad but true, they will never intersect. If we want to write this geometrically speaking, we can use two bars to indicate that they are parallel. So L is parallel to K. On our line, we might also see a double set of arrows. Anytime we see double arrows, we know for certain these lines will never meet. Our next kind is called perpendicular. Again, I think you've probably heard of perpendicular. Perpendicular lines are when two lines intersect at a very special kind of angle. That would be 90 degrees, also known as a right angle. So they intersect at 90 degrees. In our picture, you've maybe seen this will show up like a little half of a square. So if we see a half of a square, again, we're guaranteed the lines are perpendicular, and that is a 90-degree angle. Let's call this M and N. Our notation tells us that M is perpendicular to N. Looks like an upside down T for perpendicular. Our last pair of lines are a little bit difficult to draw on just a two-dimensional piece of paper. These are called skew. These are lines that never meet, but they're not parallel. So how many of you out there drive? A little scary. Think about your highway driving. If you have an overpass and an underpass, that would be an example of skew lines. The highways are going in different directions, but they're not quite parallel. So we would say not intersecting, but not parallel. We don't actually have a notation that we use, but we usually can just say skew. Sometimes we'll abbreviate it with just a letter S. Let's take a look at some of these in a picture. If I have two segments, I can identify them as parallel, perpendicular, or skew. Our first is AB and GD. What do we notice? They're going in the same direction, they're never intersecting, so we'll call those parallel. And again, we can abbreviate with our symbol of two lines. Let's pick blue for our next pair. Now we're dealing with AH and CD. Are those going in the same direction? I don't think so. But are they meeting up at 90 degrees? No, they're not. So this is a perfect example of what it means to be skew. Okay, finally, let's look at one last pair in our picture of AF and FE. Well, they're meeting at that corner. We're going to guess that that corner is a 90-degree angle because it's a prism. So we can say that these are perpendicular. We can also apply our fact to one final example. If we are told that the lines are perpendicular, we know that this is a right angle. A right angle means 90 degrees. So if 15x is equal to 90, we'll do a quick little division, 90 divided by 15, and we come up with a final value of 6. We can always plug it in to double check our answer. I hope you've enjoyed your little intro to lines. Enjoy the chapter.